Welcome to the Royal Fumble. My name is Notlim, and thank you for tuning in today's episode. So, to start off the video, my number 10 spot goes to Trish and Lita. I think they were way ahead of their time. They honestly were. They would have fit perfect in this era, starting with the Women's Revolution, and the females that are wrestling today are all insane. But if you look at their era, yes, there's other wrestlers, female wrestlers that were good around their time. China, Jacqueline, Molly Holly. Some of you guys probably won't agree with me, but I think these other females are pretty good. But they were probably the stepping stone for the female revolution. It's just big window from when they stopped to when the women revolution started. And honestly, I think their feud really helped shape some of the wrestlers, female wrestlers today, and they're definitely fantastic workers. The stuff they did was insane. Lita's stuff is insane, and their feud was really great with each other too. Competitive, friendship, all traded over for boys, which you don't like to see, but it worked. It worked. Yeah, man. I wanted to include females in here. But I couldn't really think of other female feuds where they were really impactful as far as Charlotte and Sasha Banks. I was thinking about putting, but I couldn't really think of a feud. There was just great wrestling matches, but couldn't think of a specific feud where I'm just like, yeah. Becky and Charlotte was definitely one of my 3 honorable mentions. Definitely just how competitive they were, but I didn't see too many matches of them wrestling together other than when the Becky Lynch became a heel and became the man, and I don't think it was long enough for it to continue. And then obviously when the title swap happened and all that stuff happened, so honorable mention to them too, definitely for sure. I can think of NXT wrestling, Sasha and Bailey, great match too, but I feel like the feuds weren't long enough, and most of these feuds you'll see in here, not excluding Trish and Lita because the feud wasn't long, but it was great. Our overtime, brief period, paused and came back to. So number 8 for me is Cena and Orton. Now, if you are like me and you watched wrestling around this time, you will probably tune into whatever pay-per-view was going on, and you're like, Jesus, why is this still happening? But with Cena now telling us it's his last run, this is one of the matches I want him to have. It is Randy and John Cena. 2008 and 2009. Super Cena was at his peak, I guess. He had multiple peaks, but this feud was at its fucking peak. God knows how long, and it's just. I'm glad that looking at it now, I'm just like, I fucking hated it, but it was good looking back into it. I loved it. At the time, I loved it until they just kept fucking flipping back and forth the belt and playing tennis with it or whatever you want to call it. But it helped them both get high numbers in title reigns, and Cena's now at 16. So definitely one of my favorite feuds between Cena. Another honorable mention, Cena and Edge, which I don't have in this list, unfortunately. It's really hard to pick. But yeah, number 9. I think I started off with saying number 8. So if I didn't, number 9, Cena and Randy. Number 8 on my list is Brett and Shawn Michaels. Now, as stated in my previous videos, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. Outside of WWE, everything currently is his all-time favorite. He is. This is probably a feud I was really trying to put at the bottom because it's what started his reign as one of my favorites. A lot of people like Montreal Screwjob. I love the heel factor he got from it, and DX was just great at the Attitude Era time. The DX remodeled for like the PG era. I found it funny, but it wasn't as good as the original. We don't have to lie. But Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, one of my favorite feuds. great fucking technical wrestlers. Bret Hart is probably one of my top wrestlers of all time. I wouldn't say top 10 because he's not in there, but he is definitely one of my favorites. And I think their feud really was great between each other. I mean, yes, it was personal backstage. One was cocky and arrogant, and the other one fucking put up numbers, put up matches. He could fucking. They both put up matches. Honestly, they both could wrestle Broomstead. I think the fucking match would be phenomenal. But yeah, definitely number 8. Again, I try not to be biased with putting my favorite wrestler all the way at the bottom, because again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I wanted to make this video so that it is strictly not biased as far as who's my favorite, but I definitely want to mention them in there because again, I love their feuds, I love their matches, and yeah. So number 7, it is Undertaker versus Kane. I think this is probably one of the greatest debut matches, or debut for any character, which is Kane. And this feud really helped solidify the longevity of these two characters. Well, Taker was probably always going to make it, but for Kane, it wasn't just like, oh, a debut, recast him as something else or whatever the case may be. But I think their feud just was fucking great. I think Kane should have won the Mania match between the two of them, but hey, it worked out at the end of the day. Taker had his streak, and I think that's probably more of a win for everyone than Kane winning the Mania and not having a shriek. But great careers. Both of them are. Both of them are just insane. The feuds they have great. I mean, the last feud I think they had where Kane buried him and stuff. I could probably live without remembering that one too much, but for the most part, I love their feud. Paul Bear played a perfect role between their feud, and just so iconic watching from the Attitude Era, and then again during the Ruthless Aggression Era and PG era. They're just great workers, and yeah. So at number 6, I have probably the only current feud in like modern era right now, which is Roman and Seth. WrestleMania 40 had a spectacular ending on including that little piece into probably one of the greatest storylines, which is the Bloodline. And I think it just great storytelling. Is just insane how they could just one little thing could just fucking make a big ass exclamation point at the end of it. It's just crazy to me to think of it. And again, both of those are like the greatest wrestlers currently that are in WWE, and man, they just changed the game because everyone was getting tired of Cena. Granted, Roman's first couple of years, everyone was tired of him, but it wasn't his fault; it was booking's fault. But this Roman now is just phenomenal, and I think Roman and Seth really helped solidify each other. Pretty sure if Dean stayed or Moxley stayed, probably would have been all three of them. But who knows? Because he wasn't really getting like the treatment. Like when they had that triple threat, they just gave him the belt. But like, I feel like they all three of them changed. Fucking fat ass PG era that we needed to get out of. But yeah, going back to it, yeah, they're my number 6. Now, number 5 and under. It was really hard for me to pick a list because I try not to be biased, but then again, I love me some Shawn Michaels. So at number 5, I have HBK versus Triple H. Early 2000s was just so fucking great when Triple H returned. I wasn't a big Triple H fan, but man, this fucking feud, like compared to the Cena and Orton in 2008 to 2009 versus the HBK and Triple H, it just got more fucking gruesome, like so personal, because they had that friendship, and I feel like that's the difference between like consistently booking them than Randy and Cena. Not really, they're they're great workers. They were just top of their era around the same time, but like this is different. Like I think the build for this is a lot better. Probably I think if I'm not correct or not mistaken, I think it's HBK's last run with any world title. I mean, he had several chances against Cena and then Jericho for the world title later on, but I think this is the last one he won was an elimination chamber match. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm an idiot, but yeah, the fucking great feud, so gruesome. Was a time with still letting fucking bleeding happen. This is like the fucking golden time of Shawn Michaels finishing a match with a super kick falling on top of a pinfall, and I think it's great. It's just showing how much it took out of the match, and I could go on day about how great he is, but Triple H too. Credit to him being such a great heel, and just being so damn hated, and still making just that storytelling, and the feud is just so personal, and just, I don't know. It just I think it's probably one of the best feuds that Shawn Michaels had. And now other two honorable mentions I wanted to put in here, since he's not on my list no more, would be Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. Although the feud wasn't long, fucking great match, great match. And then Jericho and Shawn, also two great matches. But yeah, honorable mentions because the feuds weren't long. And again, I'm trying to build on long feuds that did a lot for the company. And, yep. So number 4 is probably the only tag team feuds I have here. Or I said feuds, so it's multiple. But it's Hardy's, Dudley's, and Edge and Christian. I try not to be biased here. And, if you look at their tag team matches with each other, it really started early with Hardy's and Edge and Christian. They were all friends. I mean, obviously, it's nothing personal. But, man, those TLC feuds, it's crazy because they were really stealing the show when you had people like Austin, Triple H, The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, Kurt Angle inside the main event. And these 6 people just managed to steal the show anytime they could. And the feud was great. I think the people who won every single match was probably the correct one. Their solo feuds between each team was also great, not just the trios. And yeah, it's just I loved this era of tag team, and it was honestly just probably they just outdid themselves and put their life on the line to entertain us as fans. And man, I fucking fanboyed for this. So top 3. Now, third one wasn't so hard to put between the other two, but the other two, like I said, are controversial in my opinion. Some people will flip them. But for number 3, I have The Rock and Triple H. The Rock and Triple H were it's like water to oil. They both are started at the same time, right? Almost simultaneously around the same time. The Rock debuted, Triple H debuted. Some people like to say that The Rock was given more in the beginning than Triple H, but Triple H got punished because of the curtain call and all that. But honestly, I think they still managed to have a hell of a career. Their feud was just so great. The Rock being such a great babyface and Triple H being such a great fucking heel. And even when it was fucking flipped, they did a great job. I mean, The Rock was more of a face than Triple H was, but it's because they were both good on those specific ones. But and particularly, like, even now, like, I forgot what WrestleMania was when The Rock and Triple H had that encounter. It's just great. It's just great. Their chemistry is insane. Their matches was great. My favorite match between them was SummerSlam. The ladder match between The Rock and Triple H. Great fucking match. And yeah, it's just probably one of my favorite feuds in the Attitude Era. And to this day, they still have that chemistry. It doesn't skip a beat, Now, going to the controversial part, because a lot of people are going to be like, no. But number 2 is Vince versus Austin. This is what solidified the Attitude Era, in a sense, for most people. I think this feud is really ranked up as number 1 for most people because it's like, oh my god, he's fucking just beating the shit out of the owner, the boss. And a lot of us wish we could fucking do that, I bet. But I honestly think that as far as like wrestling, I mean, Vince really couldn't wrestle. And I think the feud behind the wrestling part, promos and just Austin constantly getting cheated out of and just constantly getting screwed and fucked with, and him being the number 1 fucking person against this great heel that Vince was because of how much power he had. I think it was really great. But if you look at it in the wrestling aspect too, I mean, the matches weren't that fun. It's just fun watching Austin beat the shit out of Vince. It's always fun watching Vince take a stunner and fucking up. But it's it is a great feud. Again, this is number two for me, and you guys could probably already guess what number one is and why it's for me it's the opposite. But as a wrestling fan, I do love to watch the wrestling stuff, not just promos and backstage stuff and constant bickering, which is it's always fun because that's helps build the story and to make it personal. And honestly, this feud is personal, but well, not backstage, but it was personal for us if you're watching and going on with the story. But I think number one beats it because of the wrestling part, and it's The Rock and Austin. Two great, the two Mount, obviously two of the Mount Rushmore, Hall of Fame careers. Two of the greatest wrestlers at the same time. Charismatic, faces, heels, whatever the fuck you want to put them, they just did it. Comedic gold, biggest pop reactions around the time. It's just crazy to think that we were lucky enough, if you watch the Attitude Era, to have these two at the same time. Mostly other eras you don't have it. You have Hogan, you have Cena. Right now it's Roman, Roman was probably last, and then you have Cody that's starting this era of Triple H's era, and you don't have two people at the same time. I mean, you have people like Seth and Randy, and Macho Man. You have all these other people who are there, but if one's out, you don't have really the other. Like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. When Cena was injured, they had other people to rotate, but it's like soon as Cena came back, he's main focus, right? And people might bicker on Batista and all these other people around the time, but I honestly think it was just Cena running that. Anyway, Rock and Austin, just how many times they were separated and still managed to find each other. Like Royal Rumble 2001. It's like fucking locking eyes in the middle of the ending of the Rumble. Is just great, building into the fucking greatest WrestleMania and one of the best feuds. Like I said, it is the best feud for me. It's just Rock and Austin. It's just fucking great. It's great storytelling, great wrestling. Rock could fucking sell a stunner. It's just great. I wish their careers were a little bit longer. Both of them were cut short. One because of injury, the other one because of Hollywood. But for what it was, I think that was just my favorite feud. So, all right. Well, have you guys finished and watched this whole video, which I do appreciate, go ahead and hit a like and let me know if you guys agree with me, what you guys put instead of certain lists. Like I said, this is all opinion based, so I definitely know a lot of people's lists are a lot different. And let me know what you want me to do next or want us to do. A lot of the other TRF, community, or can I say group, will definitely be making the same topic with their opinions and what they're going to have as their top 10. So stay tuned for those, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye. Like Charlotte and Charlotte and Sasha Banks. Charlotte and Sasha.